Last week we talked about no platforming, and lots of people spoke. You weren't able to speak because you were up in Edinburgh. I don't think you had a
He
sin, but
was.
I'm interested to hear what your take is on this, because you came back to me on the issue of specific, especially should Zionists be no platform. That was something that a few people said. I think Sabi Segal said that at one point. What's your take on that?
Okay, well, this is an opportunity to look in a bit more depth at some quite complicated issues, and I can't help reminding myself that we're doing it against the background of appalling genocide and the sort of fascist developments that everybody's so worried about. So emotions are very high, aren't they? We're all in a state of outrage and frustration because, our politicians are just justifying everything and giving ludicrous explanations for the riots and for why Israel is allowed to go on doing what it's doing. So we need level heads. So I'd like to talk a little bit about no platforming and also about Zionists. When we say no platforming, what do we mean? When we say Zionists, what do we mean? So, I think on the no platforming issue, the left has a consistent position that you don't no platform, you don't deny freedom of speech unless somebody is representing a fascist point of view, because you know that the fascists will deny us freedom of speech. They would smash every democratic organization that we have, the labor movement and so on. So no platform for fascists is a pretty clear one. When we think about the implications for Palestine solidarity, I think it's probably a good idea to look at the guidance that we get from the Boycott National Committee, because boycott is a form of no platforming. You're campaigning to prevent somebody being heard because their views are dangerous, and in the case of Palestine, it's quite clear that the targets are organizations, institutions, and some individuals representing those institutions who are sort of mouthpieces, if you like, for the Israeli state. Those are the people that the boycott targets. It doesn't target anybody who has some link perhaps with Zionism inside their head. You know what I mean? This is a very different thing. So let's look now who these Zionists are. We've got to think about what tactically serves the Palestinian cause, serves the anti-fascist cause. So we need to be very clear what we're doing when we take decisions about who to listen to, who to give a platform, and who to actively campaign against and deny a platform to. So when we were chatting about it yesterday, Crispin, you said, I don't see how it's possible for somebody who is anti-racist and pro-Palestinian to have any truck with Zionism, and how can they not label themselves anti-Zionist? And well, the answer is it may seem impossible, but it actually is possible. And Glyn Secker, who many of you know, gave me a really good example when we were chatting recently. Glyn captained the Jewish boat to Gaza, which attempted to help break the siege of Gaza in 2010, unsuccessfully because the Israelis boarded and seized the boat. But one of the people on the boat with Glyn was, let's get the name right, yes, Reuven Moscovich, who had gone to Israel. He's an old man. He was an old man then, and he's dead now. Went to Israel with a very humanist, even socialist ideal. People had the illusion that they were going to build some kind of utopia. They were going to escape from the hateful persecution that Jews have experienced in Christian Europe for generations. And they were going to build this wonderful place where Jews would, plant olive trees and join in happy clappy communities with Palestinians, and it was all going to be wonderful. And yes, somebody said you can't build utopia, and so absolutely right, and that's the logic which undermines this idealistic notion. But Reuven actually did that. He went and he was part of a kibbutz where Palestinians were equal partners, and they'd acquired the land legally and properly, and they were actually trying to enact this living together with the indigenous people thing, till a point came where some people in the kibbutz thought, no, we need more land, we need to expand. And Reuven and his mates are saying, well, hang on a minute, the land around here is already occupied. It's owned by Palestinians. Oh, well, we need it. We're Jews. We're more important. Fuck off if you don't like it. So he fucked off. But there are people like Reuven who still hanker after that after that sort of initial idealistic vision, if you like. I'm sorry, I can see people in the chat getting angry already. This is not good enough. You know, can we please remember why Zionism exists? Right. And
Right.
yes, it is intrinsically racist because you can't occupy somebody else's land without bringing into play a whole load of settler colonialist mechanisms and getting the support of empire, of course. So so why is it that Zionism exists at all? Why is this ideology, which has caused such appalling developments in the Middle East, taken root at all? And the reason is, well, people like my grandparents who were being driven out of different parts of Eastern Europe, Russia, Germany, Poland, Ukraine, wherever. Some of those people picked up on the growing nationalist political ideologies of the late 19th century and thought, what we need as Jews, we need to set up our own state. We need self-determination. Now, misguided, had appalling consequences and was always bound to, but it was appealing to some people. And Ilan Pappé, who you all know, of course, when he talks about this, he says that idea of Jews having self-determination there's nothing wrong with that. That's what Ilan says. What's wrong is trying to enact it on other people's land and setting up a state which is exclusive and Jewish only, and all the bad things that we know about. Okay, so if you try and approach people like, okay, B'Tselem, Israeli human rights organization, doing fantastic work which supports the Palestinian cause, are we going to say, you people, if you don't tattoo the words "I'm an anti-Zionist" on your forehead, we're going to denounce you, we're going to refuse to listen to you, we're not going to use your material, we're going to accuse you of being Zionist? What earthly purpose would that serve the Palestinian cause, right? So, I mean, I think I'm just going to check that I've made all the points I wanted to make about that. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to why Jews now still find Zionism appealing, I mean, one reason is there's still some people who have this sort of idealistic hankering for an initial idea of self-determination. And the other is that the Israeli state has been incredibly successful in creating the idea that Jews are not safe unless they have this safe haven. And this idea gained a lot of credence after the Second World War. Zionism wasn't popular among Jews before the Second World War, but after, because of the Holocaust, it was. And it was very easy for the state to gain a lot of support, for example, within the British Labour movement. The Labour Party, the unions, very much bought this ideal that Israel was somehow in the socialist camp, Western, liberal, democratic. I mean, we know it's crap, right? But this is an idea which has taken hold. And that's why we have a lot of illusions among many Jews and among many non-Jews who've also bought into it. So you don't have to be Jewish to be a Zionist. We know that. And many Jews are not Zionists, as you also know. So are people calling me a Zionist apologist? This is ridiculous. This is the sort of stuff that we have to
Do you want to? Do you? I mean, it is a controversial subject. No, I think
yeah. And you see, I'm not Zionist. I'm not apologizing for Zionism. I'm explaining Zionism, Crispin. And this is what we have to understand. If people can't understand the roots of it, they will never be able to combat it. So when we talk about denying a platform, yes, we deny a platform to fascists. That's clear. Many of us would say that we also deny a platform to anybody who's a promoter of Israeli genocide, right? And that's something, what that would mean, who falls into that category. Zippy Hotovely, yeah, I would say. You wouldn't, if she was being welcomed at a venue somewhere, you would go outside and demonstrate against it. That's what I mean by denying a platform. Because those people are dangerous to the pro-Palestinian and the anti-fascist.
Can I kind of just try and paraphrase what you're saying? I mean, are you saying that there's good socialist sort of people who believe in the origin of Israel as a kind of socialist ideal, who still believe that, but disapprove of what's happening in Israel, and that we shouldn't make those people into we shouldn't target those people for no platforming or etc. Is that kind of what you're saying?
It is, because though those people have illusions, and I mean, lots of us in JVL, and I'm sorry if people are going to start saying that JVL is Zionist apologists, I find that really quite difficult and insulting. Lots of us in JVL had to make a journey from being brought up believing that we needed that safe haven. My old mum used to say, well, you know, we might have to escape. The history of Jewish persecution is pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Please don't forget it. So people do have genuine fears. You might have heard Miriam Margolyes, who's a great supporter of Palestinian rights, who's saying when she steps in a shower, she often finds herself thinking of the extermination camps which gassed people in showers. When she gets on a train, she quite often finds herself thinking of those trains which took people to their deaths. So I don't think, I'm not saying we have to be careful of Zionist sensibilities. What I am saying, if you're dealing with people, and this is a problem we've got in Stand Up to Racism, and to a certain extent, Hope Not Hate. If you're dealing with people who aren't ready to denounce Zionism, but who are ready to go out on the streets and fight fascists and defend immigrant support centres, and who are ready to come out on the demonstrations and to say, not in my name, about what's going on in Israel, what earthly purpose does it serve to drive them out of organizations that we're trying to build? That heaven knows we need the most allies we can bring together, don't we? We absolutely have to. If people are actually fighting fascism and fighting apartheid, it's bonkers in my view.
I think because we've got to round up our discussion, because and then people want to talk. We can't really change the whole format of the show to bring other people in, but I think there's more to be said on this. Would you be up for talking more about this maybe next week or another week after that?
Yeah, definitely. Because the important thing is that these things are starting to divide us just when we need to be one united force against the fascists who are marching in our streets and against the genocide that's going on. People are sort of picking off each other at the margins, and this is really. I'd like to hear from Tony G as well. One thing I was thinking was, if Zippy Hotovely would debate with Tony, I'd say, yes, bring it on. Let's have that debate. That would be amazing.
Okay, I mean,
she won't, and that's why, right. No, not Zionist. Goodness me, people are saying very peculiar things.
No, I mean, I think this could become an hour-long discussion with Tony, and there are shows that do that, and I could possibly. Sabby's come in as well now.
Yeah, can we just hear each other with respect? You do, Crispin. Hear each other with respect. I mean, I don't like it when people start saying anybody who's opposed to the West is my friend. Putin is not my friend. Assad is not my friend. The Iranian regime is not my friend. But if people say that, I want to be able to discuss it with them without being labelled some kind of,
Can we do a longer discussion on this next week? Would you be up for that? Yeah. Okay. And Tony and Sabby and Francis, if you can, and anyone else, and Jackie, and we can all talk about it then. Okay, because I don't think we can do justice to it now, and it will take over the show. But you've certainly got people talking, Naomi.
Thank you for your providing this
and people in the chat. I hope you can be respectful as well.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Naomi. Good to see you.
You're very welcome.